With 1 in every 4 homes owning a dog, they are the nation's favourite pet.
He's so sweet.
But for some, they are the targets for cruelty and abuse.
It's a hellhole, isn't it? Hellhole for the dogs.
For nearly 200 years, the RSPCA have been there, protecting these amazing animals.
Please do not leave with the dogs.
Go in. You're not being now. You're not even...
These are the people for whom appalling treatment, atrocious living conditions,
He hasn't got any access to shelter.
and severe neglect are unforgivable.
There's a dog here that's been badly attacked. Got it. Bless its heart.
They'll do everything within their power to ensure that man's best friend is properly looked after. These are the dog rescuers. Coming up, things get out of hand for a dog owner in South Wales.
You've got too many dogs. They can't carry on living like that.
A late-night rescue for a stranded West Highland terrier.
Whenever you deal with something like this, there's an element of risk.
And a dog so neglected that no one can quite believe it.
He's one of the worst that I've seen, honestly, in nearly 20 years.
Sometimes appearances can be deceptive. These collies and Jack Russells live on a farm in South Wales, and although they are healthy, the environment that they're kept in is dangerous. A few weeks ago, Inspector Keith Hogben issued the farm's owner with a warning notice to clean up the dog's living conditions. And today he's back to see whether they've improved.
It doesn't look like it's been cleaned up, unfortunately.
There's still an immense amount of junk in the garden, which could potentially cause injury to the dogs.
How have you been, sir?
Oh, not too bad.
Not too bad. How many have we got in here now at the moment? So we've got 5 or 6 in here, Mr. Hodge?
That's about it.
Yeah.
With every room piled high with rubbish and bric-a-brac, there's no telling what you might find in here. Although 3 puppies on the bedroom floor is the last thing you'd expect.
How old are these pups then?
Yeah.
How old are they? They weren't here last time, were they?
About 3 weeks, I think.
3 weeks. So how many pups is there?
3.
3. Hello, you. These really need to be in a basket or something, just because there's quite a draft on the floor there.
Yeah.
They seem healthy enough.
The dogs may be okay at the moment, but Keith knows this is a situation that could get worse, and it isn't just the dogs he's concerned about.
We're basically dealing with a hoarder, unfortunately. Not a hoarder of animals as such, but just general household objects. The dogs themselves are in good nick, but he's got too many. I'm going to try and see whether he signs some of them over to us. You know, he shouldn't be living like this. We've got a duty of care to the gentleman as well as the animals.
Excessively collecting items that are of little or no value is known as compulsive hoarding and can quickly result in unmanageable amounts of clutter. Outside, there's a pair of border collies that Keith is particularly worried about. Collies are an incredibly intelligent breed of dog and can make excellent pets. But if they're not properly stimulated and socialised, they can become prone to behavioural problems.
My main concern the last time I was here were for these 2 collie dogs. You can see over in the pen here, there's piles of old excrement. It's just dried up where it just hasn't been cleaned up.
Faeces is one of the primary ways that canine parvovirus is spread. A highly infectious disease, parvo can lead to death in as many as 9 out of 10 cases.
Quite often people think as long as their dogs are OK and the dog's in good condition, how they're kept doesn't matter, but it does. As you can quite clearly see here, there's old metal stands, there's a dustbin lid, there's an empty tin there, there's bits of wire fencing just loose on the ground, and these all could injure the animals. It's against the law to keep dogs like that, or any animal in these conditions.
When Keith last visited, it was the shed Mr. Hodge kept his collies in that was the biggest concern, as he was using rotting sheep carcasses to feed the dogs.
Wow. There's no carcasses here, is there?
No.
I can't smell any rotten carcasses or anything. There's still work to do in here, but it shows you're taking what I say seriously.
It appears that Mr. Hodge is trying to meet Keith's requirements, but the scale of the problem is just too overwhelming.
Things are improving,
Yeah.
but you've got too many dogs. I want to rehome some of those dogs for you. They can't carry on living like that. I can give you a few days to think about that,
Yeah,
but what I'm not going to do, I'm not going to keep coming back
No.
and saying, I want to rehome some of these dogs and you not working with
When
us.
we're
'Cause
ready, I'll give you a ring if you like.
Yeah, but that's going to be,
Never.
yeah, never.
Other shed.
It's becoming clear that Keith is fighting a losing battle.
It's against the law how you're keeping them.
Is it?
Yeah, I told you that before. I'll give you a fortnight if you give me your word that things will improve. Because if I come back again and it isn't, I'll take things further. I'm being serious, though, you know that.
Yeah, I know.
Good. Luckily, the dogs are all in good nick, you know. That's a godsend, really. I just don't think they should be living like that. And things are just getting worse and worse and worse. I think Mr. Hodge is a hoarder, not only of general household items, but I can see it going the same way with his dogs. I don't want to take this bloke to court, but we can't ignore the situation, and I certainly won't ignore him. So we'll give him that fortnight, and we'll come back.
We'll find out later if Mr. Hodge can turn his situation around. Keith's shift may be over for the day, but the RSPCA are on call 24/7. And as the light fades near Beccles in Suffolk, there's been a call about a West Highland Terrier stranded on an island. Local resident Isabel Morton raised the alarm after spotting it over 3 hours ago.
First time we saw him, he was actually in the water, and my husband Tim got a ladder, but the ladder wasn't long enough to get over to the island to see if we could get him out of the water. He's obviously very upset, bless him. So it'd be great to see him rescued.
On occasions like this, a conventional rescue just isn't possible. So Jason Finch from the water rescue team has been called in.
Light's going, so we need to get ourselves kitted up and try to get it done before it gets too dark. Water rescue kit. We've got dry suits, buoyancy aids, helmets, everything that we need to protect us, keep us dry, keep us warm, protect us from any horrible substances that might be in the water.
This team really is a partnership because Jason's working with his girlfriend, Nikki.
We were at home watching telly when Laura rang us about this dog. So we were able to come out, the kit's all prepared in the vans, it's all ready to go. So we've got here within half an hour and, you know, even though it's getting dark, hopefully we can now do this rescue and make sure this little dog's tucked up warm for the night.
The amount of kit may seem excessive, but with a steep 6-foot bank, several feet of water and virtually zero visibility, things could very easily go wrong.
We're not going very far through the water, but whenever you deal with something like this, there's an element of risk. You can't get rid of that risk completely. You just got to try and minimise it as much as we possibly can. OK?
Yeah, good to go.
I'll grab mine.
Having only had fleeting glimpses of the dog, no one knows how long it's been here or what condition it's in, so they need to get it out as quickly as possible.
Hello. Oh, hi, sweetheart.
It looks friendly so far, but is it going to come and cooperate?
What's your name? She's called Penny.
Oh, she got a collar and a tag. Brilliant.
Because Penny is wearing a name tag, it's likely that somewhere there is a very worried owner.
Oh, you're certainly well fed, aren't you?
Although fortunately, she doesn't seem to be suffering from starvation.
Don't be worried about getting the dog wet, Nick. If it has to paddle a little bit, it paddles.
Right, this is going to get a little bit harder.
Getting off the island was just the first challenge. Now Nikki and Penny need to get safely back up the bank.
I'm going to try and pull you a little bit.
OK.
All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it is well fed. Come on, Chloe. Right.
Having got Penny and Nikki back on dry land, the rescue has been a success.
Glad she's all right. She looks very pleased.
And Jason is over the moon.
I don't get any better than this. It's just brilliant. Rescuing an animal that cannot get itself out of the predicament that it's in. We wouldn't be able to do this if we didn't have the kit and the training that we've got.
Fortunately, Penny wanted to be rescued, so she came straight to me and I was able to carry her back over.
Although they have a name on the tag,
Yay!
the information from a microchip is a sure way to reunite Penny with her owner.
Dogs and cats mainly can be implanted with a microchip, which is about the size of a grain of rice, which you put in the back of their necks. and it carries a unique identification number, and that's registered with a central database, so we'll be able to give the owner a ring straight away.
A phone call and a short wait later, a very relieved owner is on his way.
With the tag on, we hoped somebody would find her. I'm absolutely shattered, to be honest with you, looking for her, but no luck at all, you know. This phone call was heaven sent, really, because she really is a lovely little dog.
She says, I've had a bit of an adventure.
She has had an adventure.
She'll get bathed and dried off and warm, and she'll be sleeping where she usually does, which is fairly close to me.
This kind of thing just makes all of the other bad stuff that we do see on a day-to-day basis worthwhile. For me, this is the perk of the job. How can you not enjoy that? How can you not get just an amazing feeling from it, really? Job done.
In South Wales, Inspector Keith Hogben is on his way to see Mr. Hodge, whose tendency to hoard has resulted in dangerous living conditions for his dogs. Last time he visited, Keith issued him with a warning.
Being an RSPCA inspector is definitely a people job, working with people rather than animals. Obviously, our aim is to help the animal, but it's dealing with the people first.
Mr. Hodge has decided to sign over some of his dogs to the RSPCA. But if conditions at the farm haven't improved, then Keith will have no other option than to take the rest of them away too.
I'm hoping everything's done and it'll be a good result, really.
On Keith's last visit, the outbuildings where the collies are kept were filthy with numerous hazards that the dogs could injure themselves on.
Hello, Mr. Hodge. Good to see all the dogs are out here. It's looking a lot better. Mr. Hodge has done a load of work here. It looks nice and clean. You can see it's all been scraped out, all the mess and dog muck. The dogs are outside now, which is fine for this type of dog. I've got no problem with that. They've got access to shelter, there's water available.
With a bit of hard work, Mr. Hodge has managed to transform the area outside. But has he been able to do the same inside?
It was pretty disgusting in here. As you agreed, it's 99% better, isn't it, than nice clean water. There's shavings up there for bedding. I'm not too worried about stuff like this. Obviously, we have to keep an eye on the tins that they don't cut themselves on. They can use this to go in and play in. Brilliant. All this here, they did have access to. Now it's all been sealed off, so they can't get to it, so they can't injure themselves with anything. Just be careful of things like this, because they can still be quite sharp. You know, they could... And you know how inquisitive jacks are. Oh, what's in here? And we'll come out with one on its head.
It might not look much, but compared to when Keith was last here, it's a vast improvement.
Mr. Hodge, I'm really pleased. Thank you very much. It's made my job a lot easier, because I didn't want you to lose all your dogs. So, good.
So the only dogs that will be taken today are the ones Mr. Hodge has signed over to the RSPCA.
What I don't want to have to do is get them on a grasper, because that would be so stressful for them. But Mr. Hodge looks like he's done the trick. Ah, that's brilliant, sir.
There's time for one last goodbye from Mr. Hodge. And the dogs are ready to go.
Do you want me to bring the kennel in here?
They have lived here since they were puppies, so before he hands them over, Mr. Hodge wants to make sure they'll be going to good homes.
Hey, you.
Find home for them, do you?
Yeah.
I'm going to put them down.
No, the only way they'd be put to sleep is one, if they were really aggressive, obviously you couldn't rehome them to someone, or on veterinary advice. But what my plan is to get them into kennels, get them assessed, and go from there.
Okay.
It's always good to get the owner or person who looks after them to handle their animals, because the animals are used to them. And it just shows that when you try and work with people, all right, Mr. Hodge had to be cautioned, had a warning notice, but perhaps it gave him a kick up the backside that he needed as well. And the dogs are benefit, Mr. Hodge's benefit. I haven't had to seize all his dogs, take them all away, which I didn't want to do. He's agreed to sign a couple over. Great, I think everyone wins, really. So I'm really pleased.
The collies will be boarded at a local kennel until they can be rehomed, which Keith is optimistic won't take long at all.
No aggression at all, really friendly dogs. I don't think we'd have any trouble rehoming these animals, hopefully together, because they've been together all their lives. I'm going to perhaps try and insist on that. Yeah, really chuffed.
There's no doubt that owning a dog can be an immensely rewarding experience. But looking after a dog isn't just a case of feeding and walking. It's also about knowing when your dog needs help that you can't provide. Sadly, there are far too many cases where owners neglect this duty of care. In Essex, Inspector Matt Goff is making one last house visit before going home.
It's a call about 3 dogs. They haven't told us exactly what the dogs are. They've just been described as medium, so they could be any one of a number of dogs. And they're basically saying that they've got severe fur loss and sores on the dogs' bodies.
A loss of fur can be caused by any number of conditions, although with such a vague description, there's no telling what Matt might find.
Hello there.
Hello.
Just calling from the RSPCA.
Hello.
I had a call about your dogs. You got 3 dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a call about a potential skin condition they've got.
Right.
Is it right to come for a quick chat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The man and his wife tell Matt that only one of their dogs has a problem, a 12-year-old Bichon Frise called Teddy. But as soon as Matt sees him, he has no doubt that this is a very serious case indeed.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. He has gone too far. At the point when I see an animal that's suffering, my discretion goes out of the window. I have none. This is something I'm going to have to look further into, and how he's ended up like this. I am going to have to put you under caution.
Matt will return to speak to Teddy's owners formally later on. But because he's in such a terrible state, it's crucial that a vet sees him as quickly as possible. What originally looked like a routine call has turned into a life or death situation.
The dog is in really quite a bad way. As soon as I got in the house, I could smell the infection. His face is feces plastered on his face, his ears plastered to his face, caked with feces. His teeth are sticking out forward, and there's some big infection. I don't know where the infection is, but it's a big infection in his head, basically. So I'm just going to get him in the van as quickly as possible.
The couple claim that Teddy was attacked by a dog who broke his jaw. They say Teddy had several operations, but it's been at least 6 months since they last took him to a vet. And it's left Matt struggling to understand how he's been allowed to suffer like this for so long.
This is certainly ranks amongst the worst I've seen. And they may well love Teddy, or they may well have loved Teddy, but whatever's happened, things have gone too far. I mean, maybe they were ashamed to take him to the vets, maybe they didn't know if they could without getting into trouble. I don't know. The other animals in the house were in reasonable condition, but it's gone far too far with Teddy. He needed help a long time ago.
As speed is of the essence, Matt takes Teddy to an out-of-hours surgery.
If there's a humane way of saving him, obviously that would be fantastic.
Teddy's examined by vet Linda Richardson, but even the slightest touch to his face causes him immense pain.
Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart, I'm sorry.
Looking at Teddy, it's hard to believe that he's a pedigree Bichon Frise that could have cost his owners as much as £1,000.
It's a severe case of neglect, particularly around the face area. There's some sort of infection going on either in the ear or just under the ear. There's probably quite a lot, apart from the physical things we can see on the outside, there's a lot of other things going on. It's not good.
The blackened fur is actually dried discharge from the wound, which has glued his right eye shut and damaged his left eye, rendering him almost blind.
How does his weight feel? I haven't really been able to get...
He's emaciated.
He also has a broken jaw, missing teeth, and overgrown claws.
We're unfortunately going to have to euthanize him. See, that side of the face is absolutely disgusting. He's really suffering, so it's definitely the kindest thing for him.
When you see a dog in this state, to think this is supposedly a loved family pet, to allow an animal to get like this it's unforgivable, basically.
Teddy is suffering, and there's nothing Linda can do to help him. Regrettably, the kindest course of action for Teddy is to put him out of his misery.
Well, I've been a vet for nearly 20 years, and this is one of the worst that I have seen, honestly, in nearly 20 years. It's really, really disgusting, and I can't understand how the people have let this dog get like this.
It may be the end for Teddy, but this is a case that Matt won't be letting go.
Seeing animals in this situation is something you hope never to see, but ultimately, yeah, when you join the RSPCA, it's to stop things like this, and hopefully, by following this case to its end, we can maybe prevent other people from doing the same to their animals, which at the end of the day is what the RSPCA is all about, is prevention.
As he leaves to go home, Matt reflects on the unexpected events of the past few hours.
When you're dealing with a job, it doesn't hit home just how bad it is, because at the time you're thinking about the animal, you're thinking about putting things right, you just want to get it to the vets, get it sorted, and get things right, basically, or as right as they can be. It's after the job, like now, where it does hit home a bit, you think a bit more about it, and things like that just go beyond what anybody should be used to, frankly, and it does get to you, it does upset me.
The collies signed over to the RSPCA are doing well, but are still waiting for a new home. As Keith has insisted that they be kept together, they're looking for someone who has the time and space to give them the care and attention they need. And Matt's investigations into how Teddy was allowed to suffer as much as he did are ongoing. Next time, an extreme case of neglect leaves a pair of Rhodesian Ridgebacks on the verge of death.
I've never seen anything as severe as this before. It makes me very, very cross because I don't think there's any justification in allowing two animals to get that thin.
And the future's unclear for a puppy born with a deformed leg.
The concern is going to be whether it's going to get around, really, when it's older.